With fear, the greater that capacity that we have to be compassionate and present, then we can slowly start to be with it, meet it, accept it, and let it go. And realize that all these thoughts, and this is important, all these thoughts and all these emotional patterns, they want to draw us in, they're temporary. This is what Buddhism teaches us. And the allure, the pull is so strong because their ego, right? The ego doesn't care. It wants us to suffer. It wants to, and we can let it go. The more we're grounded in this state of loving, kind presence, of awareness, the more we start to see the impermanent nature of everything, and the more we can start to say, you know what, I'm not going to buy what you're selling. You know, as if you're practicing meditation, you can see the mind, how it works. It's so alluring. And the more we're in this state of loving kindness and presence, we see the falsity of that, and we can let go of these fears. We can ultimately let them go because they're not who we are. Ultimately, we are awareness. And it's by meeting these fears with mindfulness and being gentle and compassionate with them and creating this state of ease within us through this practice of loving kindness, we can get better at being with it. It is a process. It takes time. It's a practice. But the more that we can, then we can start to dwell in a state of presence, of ease, of gentleness, of kindness, of love, of happiness. These states that we perhaps have forgotten, that have been covered over, at least in my experience, with old conditioning and fear patterns and other patterns of desire, all this stuff. And the more we can dwell in this state of awareness of loving kindness, then we can start to see that these experiences, these thoughts and emotions, they're not who we are. Ultimately, who we are is we're awareness, we're presence, we are compassion, these inherent states that we're not creating them, we're opening to them. This is who we are when we're present, when we're not encumbered by wrestling with and resisting fear. This is our natural state. Loving kindness can help us return to our true nature. It can help us learn to abide in a state of ease and peace and gentleness and compassion, where there's great strength and great creativity and great peace. But it's a practice. And it's through this practice of loving kindness that we can start to abide and rest gently in the present moment, in a state of love and peace. But to stay in the moment, we have to find a way to meet that fear. And it's through the practice of simply being gentle with ourselves and meeting that fear as if it was a part of us, a part of our reality, which it is, that we have resisted for so long. And it's in meeting that fear, that visitor, as Rumi said in his poem, The Guest House, with compassion and acceptance and gentleness, that things can really start to change. Because then we're not resisting the reality of life. We're not resisting these emotions. And the more we're able to meet them from a place of loving kindness and gentleness and ease, the more we become gentle and compassionate and easeful. And we remember what it's like to not be stressed out all the time. And then when we meet these emotions from that place of gentleness and compassion and ease, peace, we begin to welcome them home, and they start to integrate. For when we resist, they just persist. So let's practice a bit. Let's practice a bit. And the more we practice, the more we'll start to wake up to these truths that Buddhism affords us. And this insight and clarity can grow, as can our capacity to meet whatever's arising. And again, there's much power in peace. When we're fearful and trying to control the world, it maybe feels good, but there's not a lot of power there, you know. It's being grounded in the moment, within ourselves, and meeting whatever arises within us and without, with acceptance and with presence, with loving kindness and ease and compassion, that we can find a real sense of power. This isn't just like, you know, all light woo-woo stuff. This is courageous work. This is the most, perhaps, challenging and important thing that anyone might ever attempt. For this fear, it's controlling us, and we can flip the table, and we can start to take control of our lives again. And not only that, we can create a life that's much deeper in meaning and experience, in peace and in power and presence, than we may have ever thought possible. And fear is a part of that, because again, when we're running from it and we're caught up in these old patterns of resisting it and covering it up, we can't know peace. And we want to know peace. And we can, and we deserve it, we deserve it, we deserve it, we deserve it, we deserve it. And we can find it, we can create it within ourselves. So let's practice doing that now. So we'll work for about 15 minutes or so. So just take a moment and get comfortable. Whether you're sitting or lying down, it doesn't matter.